that anything that you say, people that you associate with, even the thought or a discussion, a simple discussion about something related to some action in the future is enough to have you charged. And the sentences for people who even have a conversation that is monitored and recorded is enough to get you a prison sentence that's equivalent to as if you have actually committed the crime.
We can see with the early version of CVE in the US, it was really quite blatantly Islamophobic. It was quite absurd to look at the types of indicators they were putting out, right? Growing a beard, starting to wear hijab, going to the masjid more frequently. Just, really the most basic Muslim behaviors. But it wasn't just that, as Brother Adel mentioned, right? It's, a concern with foreign policy, right? It's a young person speaking up on Palestine. It's a young person going to a Black Lives Matter protest, right? It's that combination of religiosity and being political, right? They are very concerned about you also speaking out against the very, practices that are happening through CVE. We've had many youth who've said, I want to organize against CVE. I want to speak out. But if I do, they will see me as extreme and they will see me as potentially violent. Like, how can I even, speak out against this?
And young Muslims have been forced to make a choice. Either I'm a good Muslim by government terms, or I'm a good Muslim full stop. Often, they are told by the law enforcement, we are watching you. If you don't wind back and scale back and stop doing what you're doing, or associating who you're associating with, then we'll take further action. And that ultimately could result in arrest or detention. It is sad to say that Muslim community organizations are often complicit as well, wittingly or unwittingly, in this oppression and this persecution and this stigmatization and marginalization of young Muslims. Muslim community organizations, MCOs, are required to toe the party line. In fact, they're very willing to. They're not forced to. That's where the money is. They want a grant. They have to toe the government line. They can't be seen as being critical of government if they want to receive funding. Or they don't want to risk being seen as a good Muslim organization and invited to government functions and attending dinners and having politicians attend their mosques, etc. Some Muslim leaders, religious leaders, are actually going even further than that. They're actually spying on their fellow Muslims. They're actually spying on their fellow Muslims and reporting to the police. And they're profiting from this. So we have religious leaders who are profiting from CVE. Profiting, literally. That's their livelihood.
It's not extreme to be white supremacist in the US. Our institutions, our culture, all of that invokes white supremacy at so many levels. We know who will actually be policed, right? It's a young boy named Ahmad building a clock and bringing it to school, and then his teachers call the police on him because they think that he built a bomb. That's not happening to white children, and that's not going to happen.
I want to call attention lastly to one case where we've actually had success, which is the prosecution in the US of a Somali activist, Ahmad Ali. Ahmad Ali is somebody who for years raised charity in the Somali American community to send it back to Somalia as an act of charity to help people who are still struggling with the war and the instability in Somalia. She was prosecuted for material support for terrorism because charity, all of which everyone conceded, the US government conceded, was for charitable purposes, nonetheless, at some point involved trading hands with people that were members of Al-Shabaab, which the US government considers to be a terrorist organization. Other people consider it, of course, to be the government of parts of Somalia. And in the process of prosecuting her, they went through all of her statements and her political support and things like this.
The Australian CVE model has been primarily based on the UK model. And there are clear signs of the PREVENT methodology here in Australia. And it's not surprising. I mean, governments have brought over, and law enforcement have brought over those who designed PREVENT and those who consult on PREVENT. They're brought into Australia. to actually design some of these programs?
I think for young people, we're seeing, every generation now is getting more political, right? Because we have to. The world is clearly falling apart. And so you're seeing, Gen Z is really getting, I think, more active. And I think it's important to help them understand how to do that effectively and how to do that in community. If you are on your own speaking out, of course, it's much easier for them to target you. But when you're actually organizing with other people in community, right, there's so much power in that. I myself am very outspoken, but because I'm part of this organization, because I'm known in this way, that actually really helps me. And so I think it's important to get young people involved in community organizing and collaborating with each other, so that they have that sort of strength in numbers and can't be sort of isolated and taken down individually.
I think that's actually the real harm, is the attempt to put distance between the community and its most vulnerable members, namely the people who are being targeted with these kinds of prosecutions. And I think that's really the primary reason why this is continued for so many years, even as the boogeyman that they're claiming to challenge. Before it was Al-Qaeda and Islamic terrorism, now they're saying right wing, whatever it is they're targeting. Even as the boogeyman changes, the political will to change the statutes and to change these habits of prosecution and these investigatory practices isn't being carried out, in part because of the chilling effect that's being encouraged by people in the community. And I think it's the thing that the older folks could do. Honestly, I mean, it sounds bad, but honestly, the thing the older folks could do is step out of the way. I think that's the primary thing that can be done to support the youth.